Tonight, there are myriad movies which add a little bit of their elements to comprise tonight's movie. It all turns out to be a pretty good horror flick. As cinematic class is about to begin, your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and the purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's lesson plan is a movie called The Devil Below. Folks, this is a pretty decent horror flick. I got to tell you, I enjoyed this one an awful lot. It was directed by Brad Parker, and it was written by Eric Sherbarth. And they've done a pretty nice job in what has become a quasi-familiar horror setting, and that is, of course, underground, in the caves and what have you. The director of photography for this movie is Morgan P. Sesser. He might say it's Sizer. And I got to tell you, Morgan has done some really good work in this. He has especially worked well with the lens flare, something that Conrad Hall used to play around with an awful lot. And he does it pretty effectively in this movie using the lens flares. Interesting cast: Alicia Sands, Adon Canto, Zach Avery, and Will Patton shows up in this one as well. Now, I said in the beginning in the teaser that there were a lot of movies that added to this. Okay, what you have, what's first going to come to mind is The Cave. Okay, remember that one? It had kind of monsters in this cave, and so take a little bit of that. Take also a part of The Descent. Remember that movie? Yeah, and just for good measure, mix in a nice helping of Living Dark. Living Dark was one of those movies that kind of escaped an awful lot of people. They just seemed to miss it because it was small on the independent film circuit, but it was actually pretty good, and it was based on the exploits of Ted the Caver. There's bringing back a little bit of hoodoo for you there with Ted the Caver. I like Living Dark. I thought it was a pretty good cave movie. Made you feel very claustrophobic when you watched it. Now, this one gets into a little bit more of shall we say, a cerebral discussion, and that it begins talking about scientific versus religious themes. I mean, scientifically, these folks are digging this giant mine in order to find some anthrite, a very special kind of soft anthrite. But on the other side, some people think that they're digging this big giant hole in an effort to open the gateways to hell. So you have both sides presented in this movie in kind of an interesting fashion, and you're left to figure out whether or not you want to be scientific or you want to be religious about this. I really did kind of like this movie an awful lot. And the other movies, even though you could see it, see elements of them in this, it didn't hurt it at all. It just rolled up nice into one. There are some segments of this where it is shot almost like a found footage. They managed to put in about, I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 sequences, which are strictly point of view sequences, and they bounce all over the place. I hate that kind of footage, but used very sparingly in this context, it wasn't too bad. It was palatable, and I think you can get away with it. I got to tell you, even as I re-look my notes over here, not bad. It was a pretty decent monster. You kind of see the monster probably better in like sketches that they have of it, and I think there's a few still photos. All you get in the movie are real quick flashes of it and glimpses of it. Kind of sort of looks like a little bit in the face like an alien, the banana head alien, but it doesn't have a banana head, it just has a round head. But it's a pretty cool cave creature, lots of big teeth. You kind of like that in your monsters. Hey, I didn't think this one was bad at all about a little town that has a secret. They've kept it under wraps for a good number of years. And then, of course, here come a band of explorers wanting, for various personal reasons, to kind of go down in the mine and see what's happening. And that unleashes all kind of havoc for the poor folks in the town, and especially for the group of would-be explorers. Not a bad flick for some chills and thrills on your Saturday night. The movie is called The Devil Below. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.